Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Rapid Recon is with us. We've got Dennis McGinn and Josh DeYoung. We're going to be talking today about used cars, volume or profit per vehicle, what really drives winning stores. Dennis and Josh, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Super happy to be here with you.
Thanks, Ted. We appreciate for the invite and glad to be back.
Josh, we're so lucky to have you and Dennis. Dennis, especially being the godfather, if you will, of all things recon. So I want to start things off. And Dennis, if it's okay, I'll come to you first. Let's talk a little bit about starting with reality. Everyone says that both volume and profit per vehicle matter. Your take on that? What really drives winning stores?
Yeah, over the time since we set up Rapid Recon to try and put accountability into the reconditioning process, we've been able to just gather a lot of data now. So we know what good looks like, okay, and we know what not good looks like. In other words, the people that are paying attention to the metrics and improving their processes, we can see that happening. We can also see the other side of the coin too. So we have a really good idea how much potential there is backed up here. And so we're just going to keep making this real. And being able to do that through shows like yours is really important to kind of get people's attention. So we're still at the starting gate with improving processes, and we're finding there's some really big issues with just the GMs getting enough time to pay attention to this thing. And so I'd like to talk about that as we go on, and ask Josh what his thoughts are too.
Josh, let's get your take on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dennis is right. We look at how many reports a day and what's important to you, but when we look at used car, profitability, speed and time to line is obviously a metric that we want to focus on. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a piece of software to manage that, that's where we step in. And there's a lot of them out there, but at the end of the day, you want to be with a partner that's going to help you look at that data and then give you some real life industry knowledge and expertise and help you fix it. So I think, as we start to go down this path, I think it's super important that, you do measure it, because that's the ultimate, starting point.
So, Josh, I want to follow up with you. It's also important to know the true profit you're making, not just a paper profit on these vehicles. Speak to us about that, because, again, you gentlemen are in the real world, Rapid Recon. Your team is out there every day on the front lines working with dealers firsthand.
I think it all starts at appraisal. We try to do a really, really good job when we are purchasing vehicles in a dealership, and I think a lot of times we put a number on the car. We don't necessarily know what's wrong with it internally. We can view some things externally, but at the end of the day, we put a number on the car and then we estimate what the recon is. And I don't think anybody has really done a really good job at closing the loop, right? What are we actually spending on this car? And not just reconditioning, right? Reconditioning in a lot of ways is defined by different things. And it's not just what's being done in the shop, right? It includes detail and vendors and all these different facets of the reconditioning process. And I think if you really want to look at profit, you have to identify that number, and it's got to be real. But it starts at appraisal and it finishes when the car hits the front line and it's retail ready. So I think, that is your true profit and not your paper profit, if you will.
Dennis, you want to add to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, these days, I think a dealership through COVID and all that, and the pluses and minuses of that, are trying to get back to a profit per vehicle they can count on, both front and back, in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, which is what they need to run their business. And so fresh cars are more profitable. We all know that. Okay. Yes. So average days in recon is a really big deal. Paying attention to that. So you've got good product coming and going, and you've got enough of it to be able to support your customer base. But yeah, so average days in recon and time to line are still the magic numbers, I think, to produce that $3,000 to $4,000 average profitability per car. And used new cars are not that profitable. I mean, we know that. The leases are okay, but really the profitability upside for our customers, for our dealers, is really in used cars, and that's what we think about every day. We're trying to help them tune their thinking on that, and help them. They're so busy trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to
Yeah.
fix problems every day. We have to help them kind of focus on the right things. So that's where I am with this whole thing.
Josh, I think the rule of thumb, help me on this. Most profitable, is it what, the first 15 days? What's the, what do you see there?
Yeah, I mean, the first 15 to 20 days are obviously your most profitable, right? Every day that the car sits, it starts to depreciate, right? Your profit depreciates. There's a lot of factors that come into place, come into play. That holding costs, which all depends on a lot of different factors, including floor plan, if you're floor planning the vehicles, or if you're not, if you own them outright, right? There's a lot of factors that go into that. But at the end of the day, time kills deals, right? And it kills profit. So yeah, the first 10 to 15 days are the most vital.
Okay. So Rapid Recon has everything centralized. So you've really got one scoreboard, one owner. Talk to us about the importance of that, Josh, if you don't mind, as opposed to having, responsibilities spread across, various departments where nobody knows the outcome. And I mean, that's all how it happened in the past and still happens at far too many dealerships.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between being responsible and accountable, right? I think
Yeah.
multiple people can be held responsible, but ultimately one person is held accountable, right?
Okay.
And I think when you look at a piece of software like that, you've got to identify who those people are that are responsible and ultimately who's accountable. And when you're keeping score in one scoreboard, that's all that matters, right? Nothing else matters. And understanding what the definition of reconditioning means to your store might be different. We identify it from acquisition to retail. We don't know any other way. But at the end of the day, every store does things a little bit different in the way that they want to define it, and that's why the software is customizable. But ultimately, right, we keep score. We all weigh the same in a lot of ways when it comes to reconditioning in days. There's 24 hours in a day. There's 7 days in a week, right? And we want to make sure that we capture that information and make sure that it's pertinent for the people that are looking at it.
Dennis, you told me the story how years ago, when you were working at you mentioned the big dealer group and where they were in the Midwest, and a lot of folks didn't know this used car manager. They didn't know where they stood on a lot of these things. Talk to us about how Rapid Recon assigns owners, and they give the entire team one truth rather than, oh yeah, we're efficient, and in reality, probably no, they're not, right? So
Yeah, I mean, we went after this thing by saying, okay, here's your phone app. When you're done with you can look at it to see what you're supposed to be doing. When you're done, press this button, and everybody will know that your part is done. So, kind of the chain gang part of this. And the problem back then was everybody said, well, I don't know whose fault it was. It wasn't mine. Okay. The finger pointing thing. So we went right after that by giving them something they could see, and everybody else could see the scoreboard that we put up on the screen on Rapid, or whether it's mobile or desktop. So everybody works toward the same number. And the people that take advantage of that to improve their processes are the ones that are doing the best. I mean, they're making the most money. They have fewer uh, problems of overruns in terms of investment in the cars, things like that. So it all works. It all flows. But it gets off track on a regular basis. So this isn't something you can count on unless you pay attention to it every day. See what's working, what's not, and watching those metrics. And that's what they do. I mean, we know what's good. Like I said before, we know what good looks like. That's 6 days and under. Average days in recon
oh,
is a good number. We have ones that run less than that on a
Right.
consistent basis. And the ones that are above 6 days average, those are the ones that need a lot of help.
Well, Josh, can you have speed without cutting gross? We talked about the importance of that. Dennis is mentioning as well that time to line. How does that impact the gross?
You can, but you have to be cognizant of what gets you there, right? I think a lot of
Mm.
times when you chase volume, that means shortcuts. And when you take shortcuts, a lot of times processes are missed and things are missed that are very important to the profit. And so that's a trick question. You can, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a smooth processes and those processes are not tight, you're going all you're doing is chasing volume, and you're really cutting into your gross. And I think a lot of times, when you chase gross, you can sometimes slow down your process. So I think you got to look at the
Mm.
totality of the process and make sure that you're managing each process very differently. Because a detailed process is going to be different than a mechanical process. A mechanical process is going to be different than your vendors. Every dealership does vendors differently, right? Some do it all on site, some outsource,
Yes.
some sublet, but they still come on site, right? There's all these different variables that come into play, and you got to make sure that you can identify what those look like before you start chasing volume, because you chase volume, you could very easily cut into your gross.
And Dennis, Rapid Recon helps the dealer run fast and precise, like regardless whether they, sublet, whether they do it internally. Speak to us about that because you're set up no matter how the dealership operates over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as Josh says, some people outsource things and others insource it, and you've got all the different phases of things. I think the things that we found are the most effective in keeping your hands on this thing are one, making sure you basically scan every car
Okay.
before you make a decision on it, so you know what internal issues you're dealing with. So you're not guessing things. I mean, the technology's there. It's all been done for us. It's pretty easy to do. Takes 30 seconds, and okay, this car's got a sensor problem or a transmission issue or whatever. And so that's the easy part. And we've kind of got that going. But the next thing is the communication on the priorities come from the GM usually, right?
Yes.
GM's the top dog in these operations, and the used car manager do kind of follows along, but the GM and has to be able to see what's going on. And in Rapid, we've set that up so they can glance at this whole thing, see what those metrics are, have a short conversation with the right people, whether it's fixed or variable, and they know where they stand. And if they're not on track, why are they not on track? Everybody's got to know this. So the one of the things is scan every car so you don't have any surprises on the mechanical repairs.
Okay.
Number one, and number two, watch those metrics so that your people know you're watching them, for one thing, and the other is they want to know what's good. When it looks good, tell them it's good. If it's bad, tell them it's not good.
I like it. Josh, dealers right now, middle of November, they're making plans for 2026. They're all looking, I mean, they're all doing it. I'm hearing it, left and right for the past couple of weeks. They're all looking at, okay, how am I going to have more predictable profit next year? And where are they looking? They're looking at things like fixed ops, they're looking at used cars, and they're looking at, getting their processes in order, faster turns. So they're looking at platforms like Rapid Recon if they're not already on it.
Yeah.
Tell us about tie it all together with that speed, the accountability we're talking about, and protecting your PPV as well.
Yeah, I think you look at profit per vehicle, and ultimately you got to have a metric, right? And so ultimately, if you don't have a piece of software that's tracking that information, it's
Mm.
hard to predict what it's going to be if you don't know what it ever was, right? And so, a lot of people guess, and it's unfortunate that they still do, but dealers do. They have some think they have a really good understanding of how long it's taking, and it's inventory, it's it's their DMS. They're trying to find other platforms to try to get a number in their head. But ultimately, to be predictable, you got to know what it was to start with. And so
Yeah.
ultimately, you got to have a good foundation. And once you get the foundation, then you can get
Sure.
more predictable in what that looks like. And that's down to very, very specific processes. So, for example, if I'm a detail department and I know that the used car director just bought 50 cars, if I
Right.
don't have a piece of software, historically, I'm not going to know that information unless I get a phone call.
Right.
If I'm using a piece of software, I know that those vehicles are coming because I see them in a process and I see them way upstream. And so now I can prepare myself, whether it be for chemicals or whether it be for having enough headcount to get the job done, right? If I'm outsourcing it. So there's all these different things that can now be predictable because now the data is visible, right? And if the data is not visible, we can't be predictable. And so I think as you
Spoke.
go into the end of the year, those are things that you got to start to focus on.
Dennis, in life, usually everything is revolving around consistency, being consistent what we do daily, not waiting till the end of the month as an example. Um, Talk to us a little bit about that daily discipline challenge, and you know, talking to your people about that.
Yeah. So, what I'm hearing over and over again from general managers is that they're so overloaded with follow up items and reactive things. So um, that they just they can't have time to analyze what's going wrong. So we've helped them do that, and we're continuing to kind of evolve that process of gathering all the data together and analyzing it, not just from Rapid Recon but other systems as well. So they actually know where they stand. And then the big key is, okay, the GM needs to be able to pass out the action items to people. They need to be able
Yes.
to say what here are things that need to be paid attention to. I want to know when it's done. So there's a communication element here that I think is particularly important in communicating with your team, and the GM's the center of everything, right? Everything falls back on the GM. So they're going to look at what's going on. They can walk through the dealership and say, "Hey, I see some problems right away," and I've looked at my Rapid Recon numbers, my average age in Recon and time to line, and it's going the wrong way. Okay,
Right.
so that then the next thing is I'm going to send out some notices to people, and I want to do it very quickly. Hey, I need to know, why are we not doing a better job of getting trades from our service drive, whatever, things like that. And they need to be able to get action items moving. So we're spending more time on providing that kind of support in the technology because we know it's important, and we know the GMs will burn out. That's what's happening. If they don't have time to kind of do this, they've got a business to run. So we're trying to help them prioritize.
And Josh, Rapid helps dealers on more than one level. It's the software, I think, fundamentally. But if a dealer needs more help with processes in dealership and coaching, that's something that they could turn to Rapid as well for. Can I not?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, listen, software is just a means to measure, right? The software is not going to necessarily speed up that detail department, right? It will identify that there's challenges in the detail department, but at that point, our customer success teams are the ones that take that data and then give real life insights and different processes based on that dealership's personnel and where their detail department is, even from a location standpoint. There's all these factors that kind of come into play, but yeah, we actually then take that data, analyze it, and give best practices to help speed up that process.
I mentioned earlier that dealers are planning now for next year for 2026. Many are going to be coming out to the NADA show. It's going to be, I believe, the first week in February in Las Vegas. Dennis, Rapid Recon is now part of the Velo family. I understand that Rapid is going to and Velo are going to have a very strong presence for dealers who want to maybe ask some questions, start making their plans now as to what they're going to visit when they come out to NADA.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big commitment from Velo and Rapid Recon as part of Velo and to show our force there,
Yeah.
because we've got solutions that bridge between fixed and variable as well, and so we can talk to the whole value proposition, if you will, the whole life cycle of profitability, and it all calls back to those same two metrics: average days in recon and time to line. And at NADA, we can communicate with dealers and groups as to how this actually works. And some of them think they know already, but you can't assume anything. We've continued to evolve the product and make it better and better all the time. So NADA is a good chance for us to engage with our customers and to update them on what it is that we're doing that's really good, and how we can help them.
And Josh, dealers don't have to wait to reach out. If they want to engage Rapid Recon, maybe they have questions for you, how this would work for them, their group, their individual stores. Josh, where's the best place to go? Is it rapidrecon.com?
They can reach out to rapidrecon.com. They can email me at josh.deyoung@rapidrecon.com. I'll be more than happy to hand out my cell phone number as well. But yeah, let's just have a conversation. Not every software is a fit for everyone, but at the end of the day, let's have a conversation. If you're a current client and you want to have a conversation, I would love to pick your brain and figure out what you like and maybe don't like about the software that we could help better our product. And if you're not doing business with us, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Everybody, Rapid Recon has the winning formula. Dennis McGinn and Josh DeYoung, great work, gentlemen. On behalf of the Roundtable, want to wish you and your families and the Rapid Recon and Velo families a very happy Thanksgiving next week, and thank you for all you do for the industry.
Thank you, Ted. Really enjoy what you do for the industry, and thank you for including us. I think it's really a big deal working with you, and thank you for including us.
And it's a lot of fun, and I learned probably as much as anybody right on here. So I took good notes on our conversation. Everybody, visit rapidrecon.com on the web. Dennis McGinn and Josh DeYoung here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.